We love to tell stories about the greatest intellectual minds that the human race has ever produced. But popular culture has left us with a somewhat romanticized view of history. Many of these figures that we so praise had a hidden side to them, ranging from the mildly odd to the borderline insane. Now, to be honest, when it comes to weird stories about Diogenes, there is a wide selection to choose from. There's one story about a group of Athenian elites who thought it would be funny to throw bones at him and call him a dog. His response? He lifted his leg and urinated on them, which I guess is one way to assert dominance. There is also a famous tale involving Plato, who tried to devise a way to determine what a man is. He came up with the classification that a man is an animal that is bipedal and featherless. Diogenes challenged Plato's assertion by plucking a chicken and proclaiming, "Here is Plato's man." But perhaps the greatest story of all was his encounter with Alexander the Great. See, during the 4th century BC, this Macedonian general was expanding his empire like it was nobody's business. One day during his reign, he came to visit Athens, where he met our epic meme king, Diogenes. It is highly likely that Alexander was aware of who Diogenes was. There's a lot of Diogenes' life that I'm not covering in this video for various reasons, but still, you can imagine that he had quite the reputation. Now Alexander found Diogenes sitting in his barrel. Oh, by the way, did I mention Diogenes lived in a barrel because he rejected the notion that happiness could be begotten from material goods. During this encounter, Alexander asked Diogenes if there was anything he could do for him. Now, bear in mind that this general was among the most powerful men who ever lived, capable of handing out more riches than most people will ever see in their entire lifetime. Diogenes responds to his proposal by saying, "Stand out of my sunlight." This man was truly wild. Again, there is a lot of information about Diogenes that I'm not covering, either because it's too much to talk about in one video or because it's a little too hot for YouTube, but I will be including some sources in the description below if you want to find out more about him. Beans. That's a terrible way to start this segment. Let's try this again. Pythagoras was an interesting guy. We know him as the mathematician and philosopher. He's remembered for the Pythagorean theorem. His work helped Plato defining the 5 Platonic solids. It is said that his work also influenced the thought of Aristotle. Now, all of that nerd stuff is great and all, but it's not really what this video's about. I mean, Pythagoras' mathematical and philosophical work is common knowledge, but did you know he started a cult? I should preface this next section by saying that most of what we know about Pythagoras' life does not come from contemporary sources, and that even the earliest sources that are available to us were produced about 1.5 centuries after his death. So there is a lot that is up to speculation. But we do have multiple sources confirming that Pythagoras, along with his students, started a philosophical and religious school of thought that is today known as Pythagoreanism. Now, besides having a stupid name, this group was known for having some very interesting doctrines and customs. There have been many stories throughout the centuries. Some are more mild, like the story of how these brothers were supposedly forbidden from stirring fire with a knife or wearing wigs. And some are more intense, like the story of how one brother, Hippasus of Metapontum, was supposedly drowned at sea for revealing the secret of irrational numbers to the world, which was against the wishes of the gods. Hey, so, coming at you guys from the editor room here, thought you might want to know, it's actually pronounced Hippasus, so carry on your life with that bit of information. But in my opinion, there is no story about Pythagoras or his wacky cult that is quite as interesting as his struggle with beans. Again, bear in mind that it is difficult to verify the accuracy of these stories, and I'll be honest, I'm not exactly sure what the academic consensus is here, but the tale I'm about to tell you is interesting nonetheless. It is said that the Pythagorean Brotherhood forbid its members from eating beans, specifically the fava bean. Pythagoras himself allegedly stated many reasons for this. These claims included, fava beans cause one to expel gas, and so doing, rob you of the breath of life. And fava beans contain the souls of the dead. It is alleged that this weird and fascinating belief is what led to Pythagoras' demise. Allow me to tell you the tale of the death of Pythagoras, assisted with AI-generated images. One day, the Pythagoreans were approached by an angry mob, led by a man named Chilon, who had a personal vendetta against Pythagoras for rejecting his application to join the Brotherhood years earlier. This angry mob burnt the houses of the brothers and stabbed many of them to death. With the help of some of his students, Pythagoras managed to escape the ensuing chaos. He managed to escape the city where the mob found him and made a break to the countryside. But then, all of a sudden, he encountered a vast bean field. With nowhere else to go and his captors hot on his tail, this bean field was his only path to safety. However, holding true to his beliefs, Pythagoras stood still, refusing to trample a single bean. His pursuers caught up with him and swiftly brought his life to a violent end. Now, on a lighter note, Newton is also said to have been one of the smartest men to ever live. He's known for defining the 3 laws of motion, formulating the theory of universal gravity, and inventing calculus. Gottfried, we talked about this. We will address that in another video. What you might not have known is that Newton was also a bit of a character. A rascal, a mischievous scallywag, or as they say in layman's terms, he wasn't very nice. His brilliance is not the only reason why he stands out among his peers. See, he was known for deliberately sabotaging the careers of his contemporaries. He refused to accept criticism or competition from anyone. But what's more crazy is that his relentless pursuit of science seemed to be just as strong as his lust for glory. Newton's zeal resulted in some pretty interesting experiments, like the one where he stabbed himself in the tear duct with a sewing needle just to see what kind of effect it would have on his vision. This is an extract from his work, Of Colors, adapted for modern English speakers, of course. I took a bodkin and placed it between my eye and the bone, as near to the backside of my eye as I could, and pressing my eye with the other end of it so as to make a curvature in my eye, there appeared several white, dark, and colored circles. Newton was able to manipulate his vision by changing the curvature of his eye, which according to him meant that his experiment was a success. So I guess good job, you weirdo. These guys sure were interesting. Learning this information might make you question the way you feel about these past heroes. And I totally get it. I mean, it would probably be best if we just got our inspiration from AI from now on. Okay, maybe not. Look, we all have our quirks. I mean, I've never stabbed myself in the face or peed on anyone before, but you get the point. And you know, I actually don't know where I'm going with this. Here's a kitten. Like and subscribe if you know what's good for you.